and welcome to the Apprentice P45 podcast. We're on week 3. I'm Esme Todd, and I'm joined, of course, as always, by
Benjy Potter.
It gets more flamboyant every week. That's what we love. And today we have a very special guest and our very first actual contestant from The Apprentice. We're very excited. We have Amy Anzel with us, our lovely American contestant. How are you, Amy?
I'm great. I am so excited to be here. I'm a huge fan of your podcast.
Oh, bless you. You've been so kind in sharing our stuff. We really appreciate you. And so we had to get you on. We were like, we need Amy on the podcast. You're Benjy's favorite. Honestly, he won't shut up about you.
Well, thank you for having me be the first candidate to be on. So really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm a huge supporter of your podcast.
Well, I love strong leading ladies. And I would say you are probably one of the stronger leading ladies of this series, right?
Wow. Well, if you say so.
Well, Amy, thank you so much.
I think it is. Yeah, no, I think it is true. I mean, there's great characters on the show, but I do think I'm happy to have come across that way so far, as they've portrayed me.
I love that. So humble. Well, our first question for you is, tell us about the show and, you know, what it's been like having, you know, obviously we don't know who's won yet. We don't know what's going on quite, but you obviously know because it was filmed last year. But tell us a little bit about, you know, the process of how it was filming, how you felt afterwards.
It's a super exciting experience. I've been a fan of the show since I moved here. I moved here to the UK in 2009, and I started watching the show in 2011 when it became a partnership between Lord Sugar and the applicant, so or the apprentice. So yeah, so I've been watching it for like 10 years. So to then, well, I've auditioned several times, always got close. So to have been cast was a dream come true in itself. I remember when I phone call, I was crying. I couldn't believe that it had finally happened. So yeah, just getting on the show is quite a feat, especially for me, because I've tried a few times. So that was amazing in itself. And then, yeah, the journey starts. It's amazing. I mean, so much goes on behind the scenes, and kudos to the production team I mean, it's a machine. So to keep things on track, moving forward with, I think there's over 100 on the production team, and staying COVID-free, they were very vigilant, was amazing in itself. So yeah, all in all, just it's a really hard show to do, I think, for everyone, because there's early starts, long hours. Yeah, there's just so much into it all. And, you know, ultimately they have to make a very interesting show. So there's a lot on them. You knows what's going to happen. It's in, you know, it's real. It happens. I mean, maybe it's edited a certain way, but ultimately, like, what you see really happened. That logo, that branding happened. You know what I mean? Like, that must have been like the producers jumping up and down going, oh my God, we have TV gold. Like, that just happened for real? You got to be kidding me. I remember when that came up on the screen in the boardroom, because we saw it for the first time. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, with no name of the
as well.
I thought that couldn't have really happened. Like, is that a joke? So yeah, it's a hard show for everybody, the production team, us, but ultimately it comes together and creates such amazing entertaining TV.
Now, it's week 3. We've seen some of Amy, but we've also seen some other really strong characters that are coming through. Now, you've been on TV before. People that don't know, you were on The Bachelor in the US. Is that right?
Yes, I was on season 1 in 2002, so 20 years ago, before reality was even a thing. It was like one of the very first reality shows. I think Survivor came first, and then The Bachelor. So honestly, back then, it really was very innocent. It was, as you saw, like, there was never any direction, writing, manipulation. Now there is, obviously, but back then it was so innocent, so pure. So I had experience, but I do think The Apprentice was a very different television experience.
But my question to you really is, did you kind of pep talk yourself before the show and go, you know what, I'm going to hold back a little bit at the start. I'm going to let the other people do, I don't know, that's the sense I'm getting from you. And then I will, I'm not explaining very well.
You know, no, I get what you're saying. Here's the thing. I'm like, they would always ask us, do you have a strategy? Like in the production, in our interviews, do you have a strategy? And I always thought that was a funny question. It's like, I don't have a strategy per se, because the point of the whole show is to showcase your business acumen to Lord Sugar, Karen, and Tim and win the task. So if I treat every task like I treat my own business on a daily basis, that's all I need to do. I don't need to throw someone else under the bus to lift myself up. So that's how I approached it. And obviously, as there's less people to have to manage and control, perhaps them might be the time to be PM, that kind of thing. Ultimately, you know, you're sussing everyone out, but I'm not there to throw anyone under the bus or to do anything deceiving, because ultimately, I don't know what they're going to end up showing. I have a business, perhaps buyers I work watching it. I can't do crazy things. Like, I wouldn't do crazy things in my real business. Why would I do it on the show for some attention?
That's a good way to
can I just say one more thing? In the pressure cooker environment that it is, with such limited time to do everything, which they don't really show, but I think that's what kind of makes you a little crazy maybe sometimes. In that environment, you're not like thinking, I will act like this, or I will do this so that I come across. Like, you're thinking, I want to win the task. I don't want a mistake. I need to be focused. I get this right. So I think your personality just comes across, like how you normally conduct yourself and or your business.
I think that's good though, not to be the sort of mean one. I think some people go down the mean route, and I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go. Also, I just want to preface, I should have said at the start, Benjy and I were able to watch week 3's episode early to get this interview with Amy. So we don't actually know who goes out in this episode. We've seen the content. We've not seen the, like, I was gonna say eviction. That's not the right show.
The firing finger.
We haven't seen the firing finger. So what we'll do is we'll do this with Amy, and then at the end, me and Benjy will come to you from the future when we know. But just thought I'd clear that up. But one of my questions for you, Amy, is now me and Benjy are always really interested in the house, because that's like you live together and stuff. What's it really like in the house? Do people get on as friends? Is there a bit of like a cattiness around the house? What's it really like?
Look, it's a microcosm of the real world. I'm saying that in that, you know, you gravitate naturally towards people. You know, maybe you feel you relate to some and not to others. So not that there were cliques per se, because we were all quite friendly toward each other, but just if I would normally gravitate towards the same people and have chats with the same people and cook dinner with the same people, and others, you know, do the same. And, you know, believe it or not, 48. So perhaps some of the younger candidates were just not my cup of tea. So like, I wouldn't normally like hang out with a 24-year-old, because that's just, I have friends of all ages, but if I had to choose who I spend time with, people that are, you know, similar, I have a diverse range of friends, but in that environment, you know, you just know who you're with. So it was and there was a sauna and a steam room, and we all did work out together. That brought us together. I mean, there's not that much downtime. You cook, you take a shower, you know, try to go to bed as early as possible. Full on, you get your outfit ready next day, you get your makeup ready. It's just nonstop. There's very little time.
Well, Amy, the other thing I want to know about the house, I know you don't spend much time together, and you said that you kind of, I get the idea of cliques and all that. But what happens when you've had, you know, you've just done some filming and people have been, you know, shouting at each other in the boardroom, not getting on, calling each other names, and then they all go home together and they're like cooking pasta together? Is that not really tense?
You know, when you first get the job, when you first find out you're going to be on the show, it's not a job. Well, it kind of is. When you first find out you're going to be on the show, the producers.
Amy, I love you so much.
Oh my
Sorry.
God, like it's not a job. Well, you want it to be kind of a job, but anyway. But no. So you first find out from the producers you're going to be on the show, and they give you a lot of advice, and they do tell you whatever happens in the boardroom, it's really important that you leave that in the boardroom, go home, try to act like nothing's happened, because ultimately, think about it, you then might have to work quite closely with the person you just had it out with in the boardroom in the next week. So all you can do is take what you can from that experience in the boardroom, good and bad. So perhaps you had a conversation with someone, it didn't go so well, keep that in the back of your mind for the future, but try to be gracious and friendly, and keep it very friendly ultimately.
We'll get into the episode shortly, but I just have to ask one more question about the house. Now, in Apprentice history, there have been some romances which have begun in the Apprentice house. Can you hint, tease, or divulge anything that happened in the house?
As far as I know, there were no romances in the house, and I'm being totally honest. I did not spot anything. There might have been a situation where I saw someone like clearly, seemingly like someone maybe, but nothing was pursued because they make it very clear that that would never be allowed.
Fabulous.
There you go.
That's very intriguing.
That's a politician's answer.
Yeah, maybe you could try to spot maybe some something, some liking going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get onto it later, but I definitely thought there was a little bit of energy between two contestants. I will.
Fun. Some liking. Are you going to reveal to me?
I will. I thought there was a little bit of energy between you and Akshay during the directing of the shoot.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. Some not so liking.
Oh, okay. I read that wrong.
Your radars off.
Oh dear.
Okay, so let's get into the episode. It begins with Shama leaving. I mean,
Yes.
watching it, I was quite taken aback. But I mean, Amy, was it something what you guys were briefed about and that you were expecting?
No, it's shocked to us. I believe that she must have spoken to production and told them that she was really struggling. We did see her struggling. She would have like swollen ankles at the end of the day. She seemed to be in a lot of pain, especially if it was a day like on the cruise ship task, running around. She just couldn't keep up, especially if it was like a day you're wearing heels. She really struggled. So we did know that she was having some trouble, but I didn't think enough to leave the show.
Oh, I do feel for her though. It must be so gutting, mustn't it? Like you've got that far, you've got the audition, you've got on the show, and then you have to leave. It must be so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, they make you jump through hoops to get on the show. I've acted before. I've auditioned for hundreds of shows, Broadway, West End, etc. And this was like the hardest audition ever.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Shama, and I was really looking forward to seeing her kind of take flight. So it's a shame that she couldn't carry on. Now, I want to get onto the choosing of the PMs, because the fact that Lord Sugar made Nick be PM for this week, Lord Sugar is in on the action. He wants there to be entertainment on this show. And Esme and I were saying when we watched it that, wow, it was, watching Nick be in charge was just pure chaos.
To put it
Yeah,
nicely.
Nick's an interesting guy. I like Nick. He's an interesting guy. It takes time to get to know him. He's a really complex character, in my opinion. Like what you see on the surface, I don't think is what's going on inside. Now, obviously, I wasn't on his team, so I didn't really see the way he conducted himself as PM. So it's hard to say what he was like, but I find him like a really mysterious, interesting guy to have a chat with. I never know what he's going to say. Like, hi, how are you? What's going on? It's like myself, what to say, how he's going to be. He's a really funny guy.
I just found him quite he was very direct, wasn't he? And I don't think he was necessarily bad at like having a leader's approach. I thought it was more the fact that he wasn't very keen to listen to anything anyone else had to say. He was like, okay, cool, thanks for that. Anyway, I'm doing my thing. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah, maybe he's not very democratic, but I think he is in the drinks industry, right? So
Yeah.
he lives, eats, breathes, drinks. His family is in the industry. He's probably like been living it since he was a child. So maybe he felt he knew best.
Yeah,
But he should have acknowledged, you know, people giving their input and then saying, yes, but in my experience, I've seen such and such, so I would rather go with this. I do feel like I know, and I'll take responsibility if it all goes wrong. But ultimately, he's like an expert, so he should have led them well.
I mean, Nick was the most kind of entertaining PM for me. Amy, remind me, on the other team, was it Francesca PM?
Sophie.
Sophie.
Yes.
I mean,
She has a bar. She has a cocktail bar in Cheltenham. So once again, as you know, because Lord Sugar says, make sure there's synergy between you and the task. Don't just be PM for the sake of it. So she was the perfect choice on our team, and Nick perfect choice on our team.
Very well. That was very nicely put, Amy.
Oh, thank you.
Me and Benjy are so much meaner. You're like, no, they're very well suited. So just to like recap, we had the two teams. We had the team that you weren't on. They made their Vodify, which was the vodka lime sort of lime soda drink, and then your team was the crafted and spiced, which was the kind of beer with the spicy flavors, and then the peach, the infamous peach taste as well. What was your genuine thought on your drink? Because I'm assuming you tried it. What did you think? Did you like it?
It was disgusting. Honestly. Sorry. Disgusting. It tasted like watered down, peppery. I don't even know. It just like a peppery water with some fizz in it, and the dominant flavor. It's like peach smell, but you didn't taste it. But you kind of tasted it after you had the sip. It was the strangest thing, and all the market research kind of did say that. But I did not create this concoction. You know, I was there to do the branding, the market research, the design, come up with a name. So I don't know how the concoction, the formulation went so wrong, but I guess I'll see for myself tomorrow night.
Well, there we are.
Honestly, we didn't find out about the peach part until like after most of the design was finished. So we couldn't really promote the fact that there was peach in it. We had to like put a little thing on the back of the label. We had so little time by the time we had the call with them that I think in as a flavor in the ingredients, but we couldn't like shout about it on the label was pretty much then.
I think that's the problem with the whole split teams, isn't it? Because you can't always get all the information across. It almost feels like they're like two separate teams. One's doing one thing, one's doing another thing. And then at the end, it's like, let's hope they match up. Do you know what I mean?
And there is an element of luck to it, I think. You know, if you happen to come up with something that works with what the other team did, great. Oftentimes, as we've seen, which is good for entertaining television, but not good for when you want the task.
I kind of feel that because both of the drinks weren't great, I kind of feel like maybe the kind of these flavor sessions, the taste testing, in a way is kind of doomed to fail because it just seems so rushed. Or was it just the case that both had really bad luck and made bad decisions?
You know, it's really hard to say because I was there. I get that the time element affects your decision making. So you never wear a watch, you know, like you don't know what time it is. You've got to rely on production for keeping you in check, but they don't really. So you've got to keep yourself in check time wise. So who knows what went on, but it's not easy. That's the thing they don't show is the time frame. So in the normal real world, if you're doing like a formula, you have a lot more time than, 10 minutes, and who knows what happens. There's always of that where it affects the final product. There's always something that pops up at the last minute, something goes wrong. So yeah, I mean, that's the part that makes for great TV. Maybe it's on purpose. I really don't know, but they've been producing the show for 16 years. Clearly they know what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they do. But it's I think maybe it adds to the television, doesn't it? You know, the whole split thing. Now, we went on to then the flavor sessions. This is the bit that I wish I'd been part of. It looks quite fun trying all the flavors and stuff. I know you weren't part of that, but that's the bit I think I'd like to do because it just seems a bit fun.
Yeah, I just thought a big part of the process and the competition is making sure that you're positioned in a place on the teams where you're going to shine. Always tried to look for the area that I was going to shine. So I knew that I have a background just for my own brand in branding, marketing, design, artwork, labels. So I just thought I better be, and the pitching, of course, I do presenting. So I just knew where I had to sit. So I knew that formulation, even though I'm formulating a product right now, I just knew that food and beverage is not my world. So I'm so curious to see it for myself, how it all went down and where it all went wrong.
Oh my God. So, well, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, Amy, we've seen the preview of the episode, and I think really the tasting sessions is where it all went wrong on both teams. But one team, the Vodify, obviously they were given very strange parameters, no wiggle room. Now on your team, I think the girls were really great and took the bull by the horns. Maybe it just didn't turn out right, but my kind of takeaway was, why is Navid there? He hasn't added anything other than the fact that because he's a pharmacist or an independent prescriber pharmacist, he's good with syringes. But even that bit he couldn't do. I'm sure you heard some of that feedback after the task.
Yeah, well, who's brought into the boardroom, and I know why, because obviously that's all decided while we're there. And if we've been saved and get to go back to the house. Hard, like I have such a varied background that I felt that no matter what task and what industry I was going to have to like jump into for the week, I should be okay because I've had exposure to so much beauty, finance. I mean, I've done so many like odd jobs in my life, and I've dabbled in different things. So I just felt like poor Navid, like he's only really done pharmacy. I mean, he has an interest in Nicki Minaj and some rapping, but like it's gonna be challenging for him. He doesn't really have extensive experience in different areas of there's so many industries he just hasn't been exposed to. So and I don't think he drinks. So he hasn't even tried a beer. Honestly, it was like the worst task for him, and probably was very hard to shine and contribute in any way. And that's a shame.
I would say one thing I think I've noticed, it feels like there's a narrative being pushed by production about Navid, that he's kind of like, they often show him trying to say something and then getting shut down. It's almost like they're trying to push this poor lost puppy kind of vibe with him, because they keep showing the bits where he tries to suggest something or ask something and then he gets shut down instantly, and they always show him with a little sad face afterwards. I feel like they're trying to get this kind of, I don't know, like public sort of backing on him. That's how I feel. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the thing is, look, ultimately we're all characters, right? Because we're playing, in theory, in the eyes of the public, we are playing a role. We are a character cast to be that role on the show. So I think if they think they're seeing something time and time again, they might as well like write it into your character. So if he keeps on doing that, whether it was week 2 where although I don't think they showed it. I know he wanted to be PM and he was shot down. It's like every time he wants to do something, he seems to be shot down. And maybe he just doesn't come across as strong enough. And maybe he's not a strong enough character for the show. I don't really know, but I know that they do keep on focusing on that.
Yeah, now the next bit I wanted to mention, which I thought was one of my favorites of you, Amy, was the whole when you did all the sort of filming-y bits in front of the green screen, and oh sorry, remind me Ash, what was his name? I
Jay.
forget. That's the one. I always forget everyone's name. I'm really sorry. Amy, you stand up to me. I remember your name.
Oh,
Names. But when, bless him, he was trying to get a picture and you were trying to get him to you're like, loosen up. And he just wouldn't really loosen up. And I loved your really kind, mumsy response. You were like, it's okay. We've got some options. And I thought it really made me laugh.
honestly, infuriating. It's like he was so committed to anything he thought would make him look good. And it's like if you've ever acted or done like a vulnerable thing, it's like it doesn't feel great, but just trust that the person that's working with you knows better. So in this sense, it's like I knew better than him what looked good in the picture or what was going to come across well because I have production background. I have directed before, and he just wouldn't listen. He was so closed-minded. He just thought he knew how he looked good, and he was just so afraid to be even slightly vulnerable to get us the best shot, which to me showed me that he was a bit selfish. It's like I know what's best, and I think it was like to his detriment. And unfortunately, it did affect the piece in the end because he was so stiff. He's a stiff guy. And, I agree with Karen that he thinks he's better than he is in everything, whether it's being the actor or whether it's doing the voiceover. And he's the guy that said, you say, try it this way. And he does it the exact same way again and again and again. It's like, but I just told you to emphasize this word or do this. And it's like, he just does it the same. He's like a robot, and he actually thinks that's the best. And he's so pleased with himself when he does things like the same way again and again. Very tedious.
And let's not forget, he is dealing with Steven Spielberg.
Correct. Oscar award-winning director by association. Yeah, I know. But the truth is, look, I don't know. I can't remember what his business was, something in influencer marketing. So, if he wanted to give me tidbits on, that side of the business, which I probably still know more about it than him, but because we do influencer, we work with influencers all the time. I just think he thinks he knows best, and it's very off-putting, and it's very hard. He doesn't like to work as a team. He thinks he does. And that's the crazy thing about him. He's so not self-aware. He thinks these things are true, but he thinks he's an entrepreneur. And I think there's nothing entrepreneurial about you. You just copy. You just agree with me and Catherine and say, that's what we kept on saying. It's like, all you do is say, I agree, and then repeat what we just said.
Well,
in the boardroom, we thought it's so funny that he just kept on saying, it's spice. That's our USP, spice. We're like, no shit, Sherlock. Of course, that's what we've been saying since we did the briefing. Honestly, he just thinks he's so clever and interesting and innovative.
Well, nothing gets past Lord Sugar, as we well know. So I'm certain it will come out in the wash. Listen, Amy, I just want to finish on the pitch and the sales and the big event, and then we've got a few more questions to ask you. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Lovely. Well, obviously, we had the market research, and then we had this event, and it was tough because you were dealing with a product that tasted like crap. Am I right?
Correct. I was selling a very much inferior product to anything in the marketplace that these buyers probably have tried in the past. The poor buyers.
So obviously that kind of put you on the back foot to begin with. But before we get on to our questions, just on that, how long does that event last? And is the filming quite taxing?
I think it was about an hour. It is taxing. Sometimes you have to reshoot walking in. They try to do it for real, but there's glitches in production. It's shooting, so maybe the light was not right or sound was funny. So sometimes you have to reshoot things. But the pitch was okay. I think Sophie did a good job. That's interesting as well. They never show everybody talking in the pitch. So if there's 4 of us pitching, they usually show 1 or maybe 2 at the most. It's just so much to cram into an hour. So thousands of hours of footage. That must be the worst job ever, having to edit The Apprentice.
Well, we could chat all night with you, but we've got time for 2 questions, one from me and one from Esme. And just to remind our lovely listeners that after our questions and after we've said goodbye to Amy in a little bit, we will be back together to discuss the results of the firing, which currently we don't know, but in 5 minutes' time we will know. So Esme, have you got a final question for lovely Amy?
Well, my final question for lovely Amy is I just would like to hear a little bit about your real life product. It'd be nice to hear a bit about, the real Amy's product, your Hollywood browser. Pitch it to us. Real Lord Sugar.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll need to send you some because everybody needs a Hollywood
please.
browser in their life. Yeah, I truly believe that, men and women. I mean, primarily it is for women. Ultimately, dermaplaning is a form of exfoliation that removes the top layer of dead, dull skin, peach fuzz, and built up debris. And once that's off the face, your makeup looks flawless, your skincare products penetrate better, and your skin has this really healthy glow. And people don't realize just this layer, this barrier sits there on your skin, making your skin look so dull. And once it's off, you won't believe the radiance, like the natural radiance that you have. It's just hiding underneath that really dull layer that we all have. So ultimately, everyone needs a Hollywood browser. I've now come out with the Sonic one called the Smoother. I have a dual-sided one called the Derma Browser and the Brow Perfector, which is specifically for brows. So I do base everything around dermaplaning, but we have expanded into other areas as well. But we are the UK's #1 dermaplaning brand.
Well, I'm sold. I'm amazed.
I will send you, and then you will. And I always say, once you start dermaplaning, you can never go back to not dermaplaning because you think, oh, my skin looks just a little dull. Oh, I don't like the way that peach fuzz looks. I'd rather have healthy glow again. So, and there's no downside to it. Like the hair grows back the same. There's no pain. There's no redness. There's no irritation. Like it is a form of exfoliation with the added benefit of removing hair as well. So everyone needs a Hollywood browser or dermaplaner in their life. And I promise you start using this product, you'll never go back to not using one. You'll love it for life.
Amy, there's so much I want to ask you, but we only have time for one more question. Now, on episode 2 last week, Martin Joseph, our third panelist, said, you will be the contestant to go on Dancing on Ice. You will be the contestant to go on Loose Women. You will have that career outside of the show on TV. And listen, I couldn't agree with him.
That? Who is he?
He did. Martin Joseph. He's a comedian. We're both firmly agreeing that you will have a career outside. But Amy, I have to ask you.
God's ears. Oh my God, that's so nice.
I have to ask you, which show would you love to go on?
Dancing on Ice. For sure. I mean, all of the above, but that seems like such a feat to go from I've had dance training, but can you imagine dancing on ice? Like, OMG, to actually go from probably falling every few minutes to them being able to look like they do when they do their performances. You must have a sense of accomplishment and think, oh my God, it just seems so incredible to learn that in such a short period of time. Yeah, what an accomplishment. What a feat. I love that show.
Exciting.
Amy, I hope you're on it. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so if any producers are listening, if any producers from Dancing on Ice listen to your podcast, give me a call.
Woohoo!
Benjy will be on there as well, I'm sure. Benjy will be first on there. Oh, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so lovely to chat to you and hear a little bit more about the show, because obviously we only see it as viewers. So it's so interesting to hear a little bit of the sneaky, behind the scenes bit. So thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're doing a lot of press at the moment, but it's been lovely having you.
Thank you.
I loved our chat. No, thank you. And I honestly am a huge fan since listening to your first one. So I will continue listening. And I wish you guys the best with the continuation of the podcast.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Nice to chat.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And here are me and Benjy from the future. Well, not the future if you're listening, but 2 days after we recorded with Amy. Wasn't she lovely?
She was so nice. And judging by Twitter since the episode, she is officially a gay icon. There's talks about her headlining Manchester Pride, appearing on Drag Race, being a judge on Porn Idol. So listen, I can spot a gay icon a mile off.
Oh, bless her. Well, she was very lovely and nice to give us her time. And I also appreciated her little insider knowledge as well. I'm very interested to know which of the 2 Apprentice candidates were the ones she spotted a little bit of a thing between. But so we hadn't watched the boardroom bit when we spoke to Amy because we got exclusive access, which doesn't include the boardroom section. So we've now watched it, as with the rest of the general public, and we know who left, didn't we? Do you want to say who it was?
Yes, it was Navid that left, and I'm not surprised at all. Although I'm gutted that he's out of the competition.
So you liked Navid then?
Well, it was just brilliant entertainment. He just made the show, and I wanted to see him bumble around for a bit longer.
He did feel like a bit of a reality star, didn't he? Rather than like a business contestant.
You don't say. I mean, there's only sort of so many times you can rest on being a pharmacist to carry you through a business competition. And that time is obviously 3 weeks.
So what was your thoughts on the boardroom?
I thought it got really fiery, and I thought it was my favorite boardroom yet. And I really think that is it Sophie? It is Sophie. Isn't it? Yeah. I think Sophie is really gonna pay for saying they both should go.
Okay. My thoughts on Sophie was that she didn't really have much to say other than just get rid of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just thought it was amazing when she was like, she said to Navid, well, I wouldn't give you a job in my bar. And he was like, well, I wouldn't give you a job in my pharmacy. And it just became very tit for tat. Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a funny dig, isn't it? Like, I won't give you a job in my bar. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I asked for one.
I know. And then Akshay was like, you run a bar, Sophie. And it all just became a bit personal. But yeah, I totally loved it. And the only thing I was kind of surprised about is why Lord Sugar, when they were like, did you say it? Didn't you say it? Didn't bring Theo in. Tim, sorry. I don't know why I called him Theo. Tim.
I genuinely was like, who?
Yeah.
As in his opinion, you mean?
Well, just to tell us exactly what happened.
I thought the exact same the whole way through. I was like, we have someone who is a witness. Why is he not speaking up? I didn't know. I thought that.
Yeah, because some of the best bits of The Apprentice are when Karen's like, well, Lord Sugar, this is actually what happened. Bomb dropped.
Yeah, I know. They don't take advantage of that much. And I think what we've talked about on this podcast before as well, when we've said before that we wish they had like some sort of, well, let's check the footage, shall we? I wish we could do that. Like they wheeled in like some like old-fashioned TV screen and Lord Sugar presses play on a big chunky remote and we see it all like unfold. That would be such good TV. But
that would be incredible.
Anyway, poor Navid.
Yeah. What did you think of his exit? His little which was a hark to Drag Race.
That's isn't that a Khloe Kardashian phrase? That's where it came from, isn't it?
Is originally from Drag Race. It's what
oh, I always thought it was because she's been saying that for like years and years and years and years. I thought that was a her thing.
Oh well, I'm sure gay Twitter will tell us, but as far as I know,
yeah, let us know. Is it did she get it from Drag Race or did Drag Race get it from her? Who knows?
Yeah, I thought he was trying to get his 5 minutes of fame, but I think he'll be forgotten in quite a hurry.
Oh, Benjy. Poor Navid. Well, anyway.
So there we go. Another one bites the dust. That is week 3. I've been Benjy Potter. You've been
Esme Todd.
This has been the Apprentice P45 podcast. Remember, please, if you've got this far, like, subscribe, and share. We've got this lovely listener called Naomi, and she always shares. And then we retweet her and we reply to her on social media, and it makes a big difference. And we're hopefully going to get some more special guests on. If you enjoyed the Amy Anzel one, please share it. Please let other people know. And we will see you next week for week 4, which is all about fish. I can't wait.
Bye.